So Harry, the thing I wanted to talk about next is kind of just the future of podcasting and where you see it going. So in your viewpoint, what does podcasting's future look like, man?
I think what's important for people to understand, and probably what happened here, is a reflection of the mindset that podcasters need to have, like tenacity, this ability to move forward and to realize like there's going to be stuff like this that happens. And for most people, that's going to be discouraging enough to be like, whoa, podcasting is too much. I'm too overwhelmed. I can't really handle these ups and downs. And, I've been podcasting for 10 years and you have as well, Jeremy, and you know that you have to be resilient with podcasting and you have to be willing to also change your show. And it's something that I'm doing recently. I mentioned a book I was reading, The Audience is Listening by Tom Webster. And it's really having me think about stripping my show down to the foundation and just saying, maybe I need to just kind of rethink what I intended to do with the show when I started may not be what the show needs now to move forward. And it may even mean that I'm just like, I'll stop the show and just do something else. And I know you can relate to this because you've done something similar. And
an enormous change on this side, but I'm having more fun, I'll say.
Yes. And that's the thing. We all are when we start, we're putting on this presentation of who we want to be on air. And we do this like on our Instagram posts and Facebook posts. And as we mature and, we have a lot of ups and downs and stuff happen to us, we realize maybe it's just better that we be honest. And it's so much easier to be honest and true about what's happening in this world and to speak truth to power, like you're doing a lot now. And I think as podcasters, this is our responsibility. So I think the future of podcasting is really honest conversations. Like there's room probably for the fluff and the boring housewives of whatever city is popular next, but and people can watch that. But I think the people are waking up. Everybody's waking up and they're realizing the power of podcasting to have these conversations that are not being had anywhere else, that you're privy to and that your agency is helping people connect with. So I think really authenticity, that's the kind of the word that comes up, authenticity, and being able to find the people that are talking about the things that you want to talk about and just talk about them on your show and just really realizing, people think about podcasts and they think about they geek out on like RSS feed equals podcast, etc. Fine, it's a podcast, and you guys can argue about that in the Reddit forums all you want. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're creating shows. You have a show, and the show resides on YouTube. The show resides on these podcast players, Spotify, Apple. Those are just platforms, and they may come and go. But if you keep in mind that you have a show, and the purpose of your show is to educate and entertain your audience, and if everything you do around the podcast is for the benefit of your audience, not for you, because in the beginning you're like, I'm going to do a show because I like talking to people. Yeah. I think that mind shift of like having real conversations and realizing at the end of the day, like we're nothing without our, our audience. So speak to the things that are passionate for you, that light you up, and then build your audience and they'll come. They may not be there in the beginning and you'll be like, oh, I'm like, there's not a lot of people who seem to be interested in this topic, but then all of a sudden the floodgates open and they find your show and they're like, oh, that's a beacon of light that I was looking for.
I'll tell you what, man, I cannot wait for the Real Housewives of Wichita. I think it's going to be killer, man.